Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to the Packernet podcast. I am your host and resident fatalist, dang it, as always, Ryan Schlip. Check us out online, packernet.com. Find me on Twitter, pack_data. That's just part of the intro now, I think. So the Bengals did end up getting a Packers quarterback, or at least former Packers quarterback, in Sean Clifford. It's good to know that they weren't actually serious anyways. If that's an acceptable thing for you to go out and get, then yeah, I'm not giving you Malik. Again, only pure desperation. What do we got here? Packers currently working via Easton Butler on a long-term extension for linebacker Quay Walker, despite the Packers receiving 2 trade offers for the former Georgia product. Green Bay has told teams they plan to extend Quay. The 2 teams are the Chargers, who offered a 4th, and the Saints, who offered a 5th. I don't know. I guess Butler's just got the place bugged or something. Or maybe it's like Mark Murphy's burner account and he just doesn't care anymore. But obviously those are silly. The Packers have made up their mind that Quay is going to be a part of this defense. It's going to be hard to get him to move off of that spot, and some low-ball offers are clearly not going to be entertained. Let's see. J.J. McCarthy's going to be out for potentially a month. I can't imagine Vikings fans are super upset. I mean, even if the idea is this guy needs more time to develop, yeah. Exactly. I don't know that he was quite ready this year. Maybe the Packers got it right with the whole sit for 3 years thing. For some people, some people can jump in immediately, but some guys cannot. And not so sure that this is the right thing. And, again, with their record of quarterbacks, whether it's real or not, I don't know, but there's at least a shot that Carson Wentz can revive some magical thing. Who knows? At least you got something to hang your hat on. But the injuries have been wild. Washington fans are very upset with the Green Bay Packers for injuring their quarterback. Thought maybe it was the Bullard shot. Turns out it was a supposed hip drop tackle by Enigbare. I didn't go back and find it to see if it actually was or if they're just whining about nonsense, but it seems like people are of the opinion that was what did it. And I don't know if the injuries are just worse or maybe more high profile or what, but they are just coming in rapid fire. We went over a bunch of them yesterday. Looks like now Kalijah Cansey for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers is going to miss the entire season. Khalil Mack got banged up real bad with his elbow. I saw a video of that, and I think it was just the way the video was. Like his arm kind of got bent back, like the way an arm wrestler's arm would bend, as opposed to like hyperextending, it looked like his whole arm just got snapped. But I don't believe that's what happened. But he did get hurt. He did go out, and they have to determine the extent of that injury. Vikings also got some other not great news. Aaron Jones, hamstring injury, unlikely to play week 3. And then Christian Darrisaw, who they've been hoping to get back soon. He may go week 3, but as of right now, it's looking like he may potentially be out another week. We'll see. As for some minor Green Bay Packers news, Packers worked out quarterback Dorian Thompson-Robinson. This is I think a classic everybody's overreacting kind of a thing. Dorian Thompson-Robinson is not, he doesn't have a job, right? So that tells you something. So what are we looking at? Well, first of all, does Brian Gutekunst do this all the time? Are we on a constant rotating schedule of bringing people in to work out, see how they look, decide if you want to sign them, all that kind of stuff to potentially replace people on the practice squad? There's a lot of questions as to why. I saw somebody write up, well, it has something to do with the fact that Jordan had his thumb wrapped up in practice, which is weird, and we're not sure how serious it is. It's like, guys, what are we talking about here? This is news to you, the Jordan thing? You think this is a new injury? What are you talking about? And you think if he gets hurt, we're going to what? Going to put him on IR and make Dorian Thompson-Robinson our backup? Or what is the theory we're operating with here? I think the biggest conspiracy theory that I could potentially ascribe to is that they're getting all these calls about Malik Willis, and they're saying, obviously none of these calls are good enough, but if a call were to come that we liked, we need to be ready for a plan to presumably elevate Clayton Tune to be our backup, and then we need a practice squad quarterback. It doesn't mean something is imminent, but we at least need a plan so we're not sitting here flat-footed going, oh, I never considered what to do now. Anything beyond that is pretty wild. He's not a starting quarterback, right? Again, he doesn't even have a backup quarterback job right now. So I think we can shut down most of the psychotic speculation. Maybe it's something minor, or maybe it's nothing at all. You pick. But all right, why don't we pick up where we left off yesterday? The goal being, I want to try to look at where the Packers rank. Primarily NFL. If we come across some player stuff, perfect. Let's start off by looking at NFL Pro, just because we did PFF and they've got their own stats and whatnot. I don't want to hang up too much time on the player stuff because that can take a long time with everything that they have. But if we look at the team information, points per game right now, the Green Bay Packers are 6th, scoring 27, obviously. Everybody else is at 30 or above per game. Detroit somehow is 3rd, I suppose because we held them to under 20. Baltimore Ravens scoring 40 points per game. Buffalo 35.5 is just wild. Yards per game, the Green Bay Packers offense is 12th. Yards per play, 5th. EPA per play, the Green Bay Packers are 4th. EPA per pass, they're 5th, behind Baltimore, Detroit, the Chargers, and number 1 is the Colts, which is a hilarious storyline. EPA per rush, the Packers are 15th, which is really not terrible, all things considered. And then quarterback pressure rate, similar to what PFF had to say, the Packers are 4th highest. And they're there with a bunch of pretty bad teams. I mean, the others in the top 5, you got the Jets, the Titans, the Vikings, the Packers, the Giants. You don't want to be in the bottom 5 when it comes to, or the worst 5, top 5, however you look at it, of pressure rate. It's not a good thing. Amazingly, thanks to Jordan Love's superpower of not taking sacks, he is the 6th lowest sack rate while being the 4th highest pressure rate. It's just a pretty remarkable thing. Blitz rate, Packers are 2nd highest, 49.1%. And then looking at some of the defensive numbers, points per game, Green Bay Packers are 4th. Only the Chargers, Falcons, and Rams are better so far. 15.5 points per game for the Packers, 15 for the Chargers, 14.5 for the Falcons, 14 for the Rams. Yards per game, the Packers are 3rd best. I mean, these are just things you don't see as a Packer fan. The Cleveland Browns are actually best, 191.5 yards per game. Falcons at 229, Packers at 238. Falcons obviously having the benefit of having played the Vikings. Yards per play, Packers are number 1. And by a decent margin. I mean, the Cleveland Browns are a close second, and then there's a bit of a drop-off. Packers 3.7 yards per play, Cleveland 3.8, and then the Rams at 4.3. Touchdowns allowed, they are tied for 4th with 3 touchdowns allowed. Chargers and Broncos have allowed 2, the Rams have allowed 1. EPA per play, the Packers are technically tied for number 1. Maybe if you run this out to a high enough decimal place, they're listed as being 3rd, but negative 0.19 is tied between the Packers, the Jaguars, and the 49ers for being the best. Pass yards per game, the Packers are 10th. EPA per pass, they rank 9th. Rush yards per game, they're 2nd behind the Cleveland Browns. I would not bet on a ton of rushing yards in that game, I guess. They're also 2nd in yards per play. So funny that the Packers' run defense was supposed to be terrible, and they're number 2 behind only the Cleveland Browns in yards per play, 2.4 yards per rush play, which includes a mobile quarterback, which is wild. Cleveland at 2.1, and they rank 5th in rush EPA behind Detroit, the Patriots, the Browns, and the Raiders. Pressure rate, surprisingly, they have the Packers at 16th, 34.4%. 6th in total pressures, though. They also have the 7th lowest blitz rate, which is just fantastic news. That was the whole issue last year. They couldn't find ways to get home without blitzing. They are back to not blitzing, and the pressures are still getting there, although the pressure rate apparently is still low somehow. Again, I'm assuming this is just the ball is coming out before they get there. I don't know. It's kind of a weird thing. Although the average time to throw, the Packers are one of the slowest, 2.96 seconds. But that's an average. You got a guy scrambling around for 8 seconds and then taking a sack is going to screw the average. Also, looking at how often they load the box, the Packers second least, 4.9% of the time they load the box. It's very low. I mean, it jumps up from there to about 10% is the third least. Jacksonville 2.4, Packers 4.9, Cincinnati 9.8. Cleveland is actually the sixth highest, which surprises me. I didn't think that would be the case, but again, the benefit here is Cleveland has arguably the best run defense. It depends, I don't know who their two opponents have been. Although one of them was the Ravens, who scored 1 billion points. It's a weird thing. But apparently they've decided, let's just load the box, stop the run, and let them throw all over us or something. I don't know. But the Packers have a similar run defense while basically never stacking the box. They run the ninth most light boxes, 51.2%, which is 6 or fewer, right? So you got 8 or more is stacked, 6 or fewer is light, 7 is just a normal defensive front. Packers also number 1 in rush yards over expected per attempt. Number 1 as in the best. 14 teams have a negative rush yards over expected. 2 teams are negative 1 yard or more. New England negative 1.12 yards. The Packers negative 1.57 yards. Packers also have the 5th highest stuff rate. How often they just stuff the run. And are tied for the stuff that you don't even think about, tied for the least amount of 10-plus yard run. You know how many times a team has run a 10-yard carry against us? 1 time. Cincinnati, Cleveland, and the Green Bay Packers have allowed 1 carry of 10 yards or more through 2 games. Just ridiculous. Run through let's take a break here real quick. We'll come back. I want to run through just a couple player stats here, some that we don't have on PFF and some that I'm just curious about the differences, like the pressure numbers and whatnot. We'll take a break. We'll be right back. All right, so right out of the gate, we got CPOE, completion percentage over expected. Not usually a number that Jordan excels at. He is the 7th best CPOE, 6.7% higher than expected. In terms of total EPA, he is the 6th highest quarterback with a plus 17.6. Lamar, Goff, Josh Allen, Daniel Jones, and Justin Herbert are the only ones that are higher. Yes, Daniel Jones. Again, that whole Colts thing is really freaking weird. EPA per dropback, he is number 5. Now, there's a lot of different metrics. EPA per dropback is a pretty solid metric if you were to just pick one. That is like the, this is the one I'm going to use to determine who the best quarterback is, right? PFF grade, I think, is actually quite decent. It's been proven to be. DVOA is very good. EPA per dropback, net yards, adjusted net yards per attempt, whatever. But he is currently sitting, actually it's not true, he's not 5th, he's 4th. He's tied for 4th with Jared Goff at positive 0.31. If we go over to receivers and look at catch rate over expected, if we don't filter qualified receivers, number 1, not surprisingly, actually it is a little surprisingly when you see who number 2 is. Number 1 is Malik Heath. 92.2% over expected. Isaac Tesla is number 2 at 67.3. Just remarkable. If we filter out guys who haven't played a ton, if we look at catch rate over expected for all players, not just wide receivers, Dontavian Wicks is the 8th highest catch rate over expected with 3 tight ends mixed in, which would make him the 5th highest wide receiver right now for CROE. And then looking at defense, leading the league in stops is Edgerrin Cooper, ahead of Bobby Wagner with 4. Bobby has 14, Edgerrin Cooper with 15. He is by himself with that metric. Absolutely incredible. Even more incredible are the hustle plays, which, as I said before, are stops in which a guy has to travel, I think it's like 20 yards to do it. Number 2 in the NFL is D. Winters with 5 hustle plays. Adrian Cooper has 8. There are 5 players with more than 3, and Adrian Cooper has 8. In terms of official numbers, not looking at PFF sacks, Rashawn Gary is 7th in sacks with 2.5. Only 6 guys have 3 or more. Quarterback pressures, according to them, Micah Parsons is tied for 5th with 11 quarterback pressures, behind only Trey Hendrickson, Will Anderson, Durant Armstrong, and Nick Benito. Their filtering on here is absolutely appalling. But if you look at the guys with, let's say, 10 or more pressures or whatever, Micah Parsons is at 18.6%. That would be behind Will Anderson, Durant Armstrong, Nick Benito, and Hassan Reddick. But ahead of Josh Allen, Trey Hendrickson. All right, we'll leave it at that with the NFL Pro. Looking over at Sumer Sport, this is all player-based stuff. It's no team stuff, but a couple other little stats that they collect. Success rate among quarterbacks, Jordan Love is tied for number 1 with Lamar Jackson at 34.43%. That's pretty remarkable. Average depth of target, we talked about this before. Jordan Love is absolutely going insane. 13.5 is his average depth of target on his passes. Russell Wilson's the only other guy over 10, and he's at 10.39. And they actually have the ability to filter out garbage time, and his success rate is number 1 at 34.43, above Lamar Jackson at 33.9. Not too shabby. All right, the last before we jump over to DVOA, we've got the ELO rankings, which again, these are always really weird. First of all, I can never remember how to say it. I have to look it up every time. Apparently, the proper Hungarian way to say it is ELO. Frickin' whatever, bro. I don't know. Just say whatever you want. But it was a metric, I believe, designed originally for chess as a way to kind of determine how good at chess somebody is, how much better, to develop a ranking system, essentially. But it is similar to DVOA in that it's a better than expected metric. It's not just, here's how good you did. It's here's how good you did given the circumstances. We thought you were going to do this and you did this. Similar to what you might see as far as like against the spread. You're expected to win by 3, you win by 7. That's pretty good. But essentially, if you're expected to lose and you win, that's one thing. Strength of opponent is considered, which is important. You're talking Lions and Washington. Margin of victory, winning by 2 points is not the same as winning by 30 points. And so what this NFELO website has, they did a big overhaul, by the way. It used to look much cheaper and chintzier. I'm going to assume AI had something to do with this, but they redesigned the whole thing. And so what it does is it gives you sort of a power rating based on this ELO rating system. And they have the Packers sitting at a 1606. Now, the way that this works is that 1,500 is baseline average. They have the Packers at 1606, the Lions at 1620. Again, you could look at that and say that's kind of weird, but I'm guessing that 50-point game had a pretty big impact on that. Eagles 1633, Bills 1636, and Ravens 1687. It also generally correlates to 100 ELO points is about 3 NFL points. So that is to say, if the Packers are sitting at 1,600, and you look at a team at about 1,500, which would be the Seahawks, based on this, you would have the Packers as about 3-point favorites in that game. If we look at that difference between the Packers and the Ravens, it's 1,606 compared to 1,687, so they're about 80 points up. So you figure, based on this, they would say the Ravens are about 2.5-point favorites on a neutral field. The Browns, by the way, are currently sitting at 1,384, so that would be about 6.5-point favorites, and I don't know, it'd be worthwhile looking at, I suppose. Vegas has the Packers at 7.5-point favorites, so it's really not, it's not that far off. This is not how Vegas does it, by the way. I'm just saying that you can see where these correlations kind of come in. Oop, and just like that, it's at 8.5. Apparently, it opened at minus 6.5 and moved all the way to 8.5. That's a big, big move. I don't know when these things open, if it would have been prior to or after the Packer game. Certainly, the Browns game didn't help the Browns' case. I may have lied, actually. I want to look at Kevin Cole's article here, Week 3 NFL Power Rankings. You may have seen his chart that he posted online or whatever showing the teams. And again, it's hilarious because the Packers are out at the top with the Colts. And that's with adjusted offensive EPA per play and adjusted defensive EPA per play. It says it's a strange combination of teams near the top of the NFL in 2025 performance, including the Colts, almost looking as strong as the Packers. My model is overweight offensive performance, and the Colts are third in offensive EPA and success rate this season, having faced a top-notch Denver Broncos defense from a year ago. It's still early, and that's why my overall team strength and power rankings below still give around 85% weight to the preseason numbers, only 15% to what we've seen so far. So he does have an adjusted one below, which I don't want to say arbitrarily, but throws Buffalo and Baltimore in front of Green Bay based on the fact that they were just stronger last year. It says other teams to hang out in the upper echelons that you wouldn't expect: Jacksonville Jaguars and Atlanta Falcons. The numbers appear somewhat skeptical of the results for the Philadelphia Eagles, but they continue to prove my preseason doubts wrong. It's really a lack of offensive explosion that is holding down their numbers, with a defense that doesn't look nearly as dominant so far as a year ago. The Eagles' defense ranks 14th and 15th in opponent EPA per play and success rate this year. And so, again, it's a very mathematical type of guy. So he's one of the few people that I trust does not have bias baked into these things. But his power rankings, as he has it laid out: Bills, Ravens, Packers, then Eagles, then Lions. Rounding out the top 10 would be Chiefs, Rams, Chargers, Commanders, and Broncos. Now, again, one of the best things about this is they've played 2 top 10 teams and 1 top 5 team already and made them both look stupid, according to, again, these rankings. Then you got Bucks, Cardinals, Vikings at 13. I'm guessing that a lot of that has to do with last year's numbers, and that will fall rapidly. And Falcons, Texans. Bottom half, you got Colts, Cowboys, 49ers, Seahawks, Steelers, Bengals, Jaguars, Raiders, Dolphins. And then finally at 25, you have the Chicago Bears, who actually just dropped a spot and will continue dropping if they don't get their crap together here. The Browns, who we play in the upcoming week, are ranked 28th. They did jump up 3 spots, so I think the defense is really starting to move the needle for them a little bit, but still, they got their teeth kicked in by the Baltimore Ravens. The bottom of the order, they have the Titans as the worst team, then Saints, Jets, and Carolina before getting to the Browns. All right, let's take a break. We'll pop in and take a look at what DVOA has to say about the Green Bay Packers. This is actually a pretty wild stat here from Salzman here, Sportskeeda retweeted it. Andrew Luck retired early because he was constantly getting injured behind the Colts' offensive line. In his first 71 games, he was sacked 157 times. Joe Burrow has been sacked 201 times in that same amount of games. How much longer can he take that abuse? What a tragedy. All right, let's rip through some DVOA stats, shall we? Now, first of all, DVOA does apply to players, so why don't we actually start with that? Right now, looking at DVOA, Jordan Love is ranked as the 4th best quarterback in football, behind Lamar, Daniel Jones, and Justin Herbert. I think for most people, you'd look at that and say, I have to assume Daniel Jones is going to start to slip down, but with so many crazy things we've seen recently with Sam Darnold in Minnesota, Geno Smith went off a couple years ago. I guess you can't rule anybody out, but top 5 quarterback to be sure. Looking at running backs, Josh Jacobs currently ranks 15th in DVOA. Again, we got to give it time for that to get revved up. You can tell it's early. The top DVOA guys are Bill, the new guy, Javonte Williams, Kenneth Walker, Nick Chubb, Travis Etienne. It's not the names that you assume are going to end up at the top of that list, but we'll see. And then for wide receivers, Dontavian Wicks ranks 19th in DVOA. Romeo Doubs ranks 21st. Tight ends, Tucker Kraft. Wait a minute. Yep, we're still doing DVOA. Tucker Kraft is the 3rd highest in terms of DVOA, 73% higher than average, behind only Dennis Allen in LA and Brock Wright in Detroit. Luke Musgrave is 6th. Feels so good. All right, let's get into some of the team results here. So looking at overall DVOA, Green Bay is technically listed as number 2, but the Chargers haven't been updated yet as far as having their second game, so I don't know exactly where they're at. But leaving the Chargers off of this list, Green Bay is the number 1 team with a DVOA of 28.5, that is to say 28.5% better than an average football team. The second team behind them, which is Baltimore, is at 22. That's a pretty big jump. 22 all the way up to 28.5. Passing DVOA, again, leaving the Chargers off, Green Bay is number 1. Number 1 passing team via DVOA, 66.8%. Baltimore, 65.2%. Rushing, surprisingly, 8th. Now, there are levels to this thing. They're at 0.5%. From there, it goes to 2, 4, and 5%. After that, Jacksonville is at 18%. Dallas at 20, Washington 23, and LA at 24. So it jumps up quite a bit. Oh, and by the way, that was offense. My bad. That wasn't total team. That was offense. I'll have to look somewhere else for that. Defense. My goodness gracious. Packers are number 1 by a lot. 0 being baseline average. Philly is actually slightly below average right now through 2 games, which you love to see, right? The whole Philly thing, you kind of hope that that's not a... It usually isn't. Usually it's a 1-year deal where you're that dominant. I'm sure they're going to get better. They're going to continue to improve, but I do hope that that whole super dominant thing is over. But there are 15 teams above Philly that are in the positive, that are better than average. 11 teams are at minus 10 or better. Negative is good. There are just 3 teams that are in the negative 20s or higher. Arizona, negative 21.6, which is incredible. 21% better than average is incredible. Atlanta, minus 24.2, second best defense. Number 1 defense, Green Bay, minus 31.1%. Pass defense, Green Bay Packers, minus 35%. The next best is Atlanta, minus 25%. Run defense, but Tampa Bay as the number 1 run defense with a negative 52%. Cleveland is number 2, negative 46. Green Bay number 3, minus 35.3%. Now, I found the correct page here, or the different page, I guess. Total team DVOA. Even with some teams presumably only having 1 week, I'm not really sure. The Green Bay Packers are the number 1 team with a 54.8% DVOA. The number 2 team is the Rams, 41.6%. It's really not even close. There are only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 teams that have even half of the total DVOA. Seattle, Indy, Baltimore, the Chargers, and the Rams. And actually, Seattle wouldn't quite be half, so it would be 4 teams have half. So running through it, the Packers are the number 1 overall team. They were 3rd last week. Washington was actually number 1. They dropped down to 14th thanks to the Green Bay Packers. Number 1 team offensively. Number 1 team defensively. Special teams, 28th. I'm freaking tired of that. They have a thing on here called schedule and future. Schedule says past schedule. Future means future schedule. Past schedule ranks 6th, which I'm pretty sure means 6th most difficult. I would have to assume, being Washington and Detroit. Kansas City would be number 1. They've obviously had a very difficult schedule. So the Packers' 2 games have been the 6th most difficult so far. Future, they rank 30th. So 16.2%. This is what I'm assuming this all means. The Packers' difficulty level was 16.2% harder than an average schedule. More difficult, whatever. Their future schedule is the 30th hardest, 12% easier than the average schedule. Wild. Now, if we look at the Dave metrics, which takes into account previous years and all, preseason rankings, they still have Baltimore number 1, then Buffalo, then Detroit, then Green Bay, Philly, Kansas City, San Francisco, etc. So what this all means, and we've seen this from several different things, and I think it's fair, is that the Packers are the best team in football right now, but they have to keep proving it to be real before it's real. It's not an established fact through 2 weeks, and I think that's fair. They have every week estimated point totals. They use DVOA, which we do too, but in a very different way. They run simulations and whatnot, but they have the Cleveland-Green Bay game with a final score of 26-17, Packers winning that game. Feels right, doesn't it? Last thing I wanted to pull up here, they've also got playoff odds. So if you scroll down to NFC North here, their Dave thing does have Detroit ahead of Green Bay for now. Their mean wins, estimated wins, whatever, Green Bay 11.2, Detroit 10.4. Percentage chance of making the playoffs, Chicago 9.5%, Minnesota 16.5%, Detroit 70%, Green Bay 81%. Buffalo and Baltimore are the only two that are higher than that, with Buffalo at 96, given their division, and Baltimore at 93, also kind of given their division. They're also giving the Packers, a 55% chance to win the division, compared to just 36 for the Lions. Incredible after 2 weeks that's how far we've come. And the number one seed, they're giving the Packers a 19.4% chance. The Lions, 9.8%. Philadelphia, 14.4%. Also got Tampa Bay at 9.6%. San Francisco at 15%. And LA at 11%. So the Packers right now with the top odds for in the NFC for the playoffs and for the number one seed. The only two teams, again, pretty consistently anywhere you look, that are ranked ahead of Green Bay, and it's only because of prior years and preseason rankings and all that stuff, consistently is Baltimore and Buffalo. And I think, I'm not going to say rightly so, but it's fair until we see a little bit more. Still more work to do. It's never easy in the NFL. You got to keep your head on a swivel. I mean, maybe one of the benefits of being as good as they are is that, I don't want to say every game, but almost every game, especially for the foreseeable future, is a trap game. It's not like in the past where there's a bunch of tough and relatively tough games, and then there's that one seemingly easy game right around a bye week. It's like, yeah, I mean, that's Cleveland, and that's Dallas, and then we got our bye week, and that's Cincy, and it's all of them. They're all trap games. So we're either going to be prepared to go in and beat the crap out of some bad teams that are down on their luck in the case of Cincy, and also a little bad. We're either going to beat the crap out of them, or they're all trap games, and we're going to lose them all. You just got to stay up, man. Anyways, I'm out of here. You all have a good rest of your day. I will talk to you tomorrow. It's Wednesday, so we'll have first injury report out and whatnot. So take a look at that tomorrow. Talk to you later. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Never die. 57 yards. Romeo Dubes, the shadow dancer, breaking through their battle guards. Josh Jacobs pounds the fortress walls, 9 touchdowns in a row, while our defense stands like titans, crushing every mortal foe. The sacred scrolls have spoken. This is our destiny to wield. We are the warriors, warriors of the frozen throne. Green and gold crusaders, taking back what we have sown. Rise up, cheeseheads, rise up now. The North will be our own. We're marching to the promised land, where champions are grown. From the darkness of seasons past, we forged our souls in fire. The doubters said we'd never last, but we're climbing ever higher. 11 wins weren't enough. Now we're hunting for the crown, with love's arm as our holy sword. We'll never back his legion through the battlefields of fall. Lions tremble, bears are broken, Vikings hear the battle call.